Hi guys, thanks for joining us. Welcome to our 20th YouTube live session. As you can tell by the sound in the background, we've got a live audience today. So thanks to the live audience for joining us, and thanks to everyone at home, our subscribers, and everyone who's just tuning in tonight. You've probably noticed there's not just two of us on camera tonight as well. So we're joined today by Brew Co. So we've been brewing a couple of beers today, which we'll tell you a little bit more about later. But we've got Michelle and Matt from Lakes who are joining us, and make sure you think of loads of questions to ask them later. It's really want to put them on the spot and interrogate them a bit.
So we are going to have a section later on which is dedicated to questions for Michelle and Matt, and find out a little bit more about Lakes Brew Co. So we'll be doing a little bit on questions soon, but yeah, make sure you're starting to think of some questions specific for these guys as well.
So 4 beers to try tonight, and we're deciding to go pretty steady like usual. So we're going to, if you take your dark beers out of the fridge now, so you've got barrel-aged espresso, and you've also got the release of Kranakan. So take those beers out of the fridge, let them warm up a little bit. They're going to taste much, much better if you do. But there's not that long for one of them to warm up because we're going on to it as a second beer. So maybe put it under your arms and warm it up a bit.
Lunges.
Yeah, exactly.
That would also work.
So I'll let Lee talk a little bit while I pour Schooner Matata, which is the first beer. So
first of all, if we have any audio quality issues, please let us know in the text below the video. We're running with 2 mics. We were planning on trying 4 mics. That didn't quite work, hence the slight delay with the start of this video. So we've given the softly spoken Wayne and softly spoken Michelle the microphones, and me and booming Matt.
Glad Kiwi.
Yeah, we don't need the mics. So we're hoping the sound quality is going to balance out. But any issues, let us know and we'll do our best to address them. So the running order for tonight is we're going to be doing, first of all, a GDH pale called Schooner Matata. Definitely not a Disney-based beer. We're then following that up with Release the Kranakan, which is a Kranakan milk stout. Kranakan being the Scottish dessert made with raspberries, oats, honey and whiskey, converted into milk stout form. We're then following that up with Twisted Transistor, which is a 7.1% sour IPA. It's a style we absolutely love. It's a style, however, we don't get to do very often. So really looking forward to having that as a bit of a palate cleanser before we then leap into the 12% barrel-aged Espresso Patronum. So we think once again we've put together a really strong box. On top of that, you've also got our collab that we did with Anspatch and Hobday, the one that features Andy Waters on the can in Indiana Jones getup. So you've got Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and you've also got Juice Campbell versus the Army of Dankness, one of the best puns we've ever come up with for a beer. So would also like to remind you at this point that we are in December now. We did, however, do our Christmas tasting session 2 months ago when the beers first went on release. So if you wanted to, you can look back through YouTube and you will find a tasting session of the 4 Christmas beers that we release each year there. So as to this particular session, same format as always. We're going to be going through 4 beers. We're going to be talking about the recipe, the concept of the beer, the name, anything that makes that particular beer unique. Each section we're going to be covering off a specialist subject as well. So that might be what's coming up in the next box. Today one of those is going to be a focus on Lakes Brew Co, giving these guys a platform to tell us a little bit about themselves and their beers. And then as always, what we really need from you guys is to get your questions in. The more interactive we can make this session, the more fun it's going to be for you and the more fun it's going to be for us. And for this occasion, we don't just want questions for myself and Wayne, we want questions for Matt and Michelle.
So you keep saying.
You're looking forward to that.
give us a bit of a break because we need to keep going back and forward to the toilet, as you already know.
Indeed. So the way in which you can get your questions in is, if you're in the room, are we doing writing them down or are we doing hands in the air? We are writing questions down in the room. So once you, and then you'll wave them up.
Like a dollar bill.
And we'll collect them from you and then pass them to us at the front. If you're online, you just comment below the video and Nadia or Ant will pick up your questions, they'll write them down and they'll hand them to us later on. So without further ado, into our first beer.
without further ado, into our first one. So, first beer of the night is Schooner Matata. So we mentioned it earlier. It was a beer that we had ready to release, or the name and a concept we had to release a few months back, and then we had a little bit of a hiccup in one of our tanks, and unfortunately the whole batch had to go down the drain, and that was all part and parcel of coming to grips with the new brew house. And unfortunately sometimes if you can't get the quality right, you're going to have to sacrifice the beer. And it's not a decision we take lightly, but it has to happen every now and then. So we were a bit disappointed, but we loved the brand and we wanted to bring the beer back as soon as we could. So this beer was brewed about 6 weeks ago, was it? Something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
About 6 weeks ago, and it's a 5% hazy pale. So it's I can't read our prompts, so I'm going to have to lean on Lee a little bit because my eyesight's pretty good, but it's not that good. Well, actually, my eyesight's terrible. I wear contact lenses, but my contact lenses are good. So yeah, it's a hazy pale ale. It's brewed with the trilogy of American hops that do such a great job. So we've got Citra in there, Mosaic, and Simcoe. We've used quite a lot of oats in the malt bill to try and get a hazy finish. It's quite a fruity beer on the nose.
We've also used 1/3 Pilsner malt. So Pilsner malt is slightly less modified, put another way, slightly less fermentable. So it can lead to a slightly sweeter finish in the final beer that suits this particular type of stout. We've also, for this particular beer, used a lot of cryo hops, and that's hops that have been cryogenically frozen to remove the brat, the vegetable matter, and just leave the kind of lupulin containing bit from which we get all of the fruity kind of characteristics. And for that, we've introduced it into the fermentation during mid-fermentation.
That was new yeast on this beer, wasn't it? What was the yeast?
We used a yeast called Brexit, which we sourced from a yeast supplier in Ireland. And it's a clone of a yeast called London Fog, which is known to have the ability to biotransform. And to biotransform is for something biological to change the chemical structure of something else. And in the context here, it's taking something that might not necessarily have a really fruity profile, and then the yeast converts that chemically into something that has a bolder fruity profile. So these yeasts are really, really cool. But you have to have the hops in at the point at which the yeast is active during the fermentation, which is completely contrary to what you are trained to do as a brewer. So this is quite a modern approach to brewing.
What type of...
Yeah, no, that's fair. I've been using certain strains from the same company you're talking about. They've got a new one out in dry format called Saturated at the moment, which has got
mine's in the post. I'm waiting for it to
I've fermented a batch of our New England session just recently with it, and wow, it's got such a clean bit. The bio is really, really good on it. It's hugely fermentable as well. Goes like a steam train even at lower temps. It's
can't wait for that to
nice,
arrive,
but you can tell on this it's just got that with that cryo edge and that bio. There's a nice sort of soft, almost blueberryness with that sort of tropical creeping through. It's really nice, and you're definitely getting the oat backbone there, which is just pillowing out the. Yes,
I like that.
Yes,
yeah.
Pillowy finish.
Very nice, very nice.
So you've got the you've given it a 4 out of 5 in the dry hop and a 15 gram a litre dry hop on this, and it's mainly cryo and T90. So put that into context. Take one of our core beers. No, don't take one of our hoppy core beers. Take Lupuli in our core APA. Type of dry hopping rate are we used on that to put you on the spot?
Probably about 8 grams per litre, that one.
So it's very, very heavily hopped. So it's we've got a few of the team in the audience tonight, including our finance manager Jacob. So it's using twice as many hops. So what does that mean? So for anyone joining us at home, it means we've used a lot more ingredients in there. So it'll be a little bit more expensive than one of the more core beers we brew, which hopefully you'll be able to taste the difference. It's certainly not on the same sort of scale as when Lee lets loose with fruit additions, but it's
it's not 8.5.
That's another. I was going to say that's another accountancy issue. Isn't it?
Yeah. We best not tell them.
But just to quickly say something which you're probably all massively surprised about, but whoever's bet on me on the weepstake, I'm losing already. I stupidly didn't go before we started, so apologies.
10 minutes.
Poor performance.
It was the extended mic check.
Right. So
My fault.
while Wayne is out of the room, I think we all need to come up with a punishment for him having done that so early. So everybody get your suggestions in below the video. What are we going to get Wayne to do as a punishment for capitulating 10 minutes in? Okay. Right.
Hopefully we've got guests, so you're not on your own 10 minutes in.
Because I always struggle for words.
Imagine.
So next section we're moving on to is what's been our beery highlights of the last month or so. And I hope you remember them, guys, because that font is really
It's
small.
horrible, isn't it?
I really cannot read that. I wrote it. I didn't print it, though, so I didn't realise how small it was going to print. So my highlights, if we start there, of the last month is, in the last week or so, I've been privileged to go on the Opinions podcast. So the Opinions podcast, for my money, is the UK's premier beer podcast. It's been going best part of 6-7 years now, I think. Or it's 5 years in its current format. It was existing in a previous format to that. So I've been an avid listener prior to becoming a commercial brewer. And then through my commercial brewing journey, I've continued to listen. And for some reason, it's taken all the way through to now to finally get a podcast together with those guys. And we did a recent beer with them called Red Dancer, a red IPA, a style we all loved. And we did that with Andy from Elusive as well. And then I appeared on the podcast this week to talk about that collab, about why we think red and brown styles of beer are largely dying away in our country, which for me is a bit of a travesty. I love those things, but everybody likes the juicy, hazy thing. And we talked about innovation and originality in beer. So just to give that podcast a little bit of a plug, if you Google Opinions, and you'll be able to find it on SoundCloud and what's the
Apple
Podcasts? iTunes, that one. Yeah. Anyway, all good.
We're a bit too old for that.
Formats, you'll find it there.
So before we move on to the next bit, I just want everyone in the audience just to help me here to sing happy birthday to Lee, whose birthday it was a few days ago. So, go on. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lee. Happy birthday to you.
Hey, big 5-0.
Bumps, yeah.
Thank you all. Good luck lifting.
We might tire a bit.
Thank you all. It takes something to make me blush, but yeah, thank you.
Put on the spot. So one of the misinformations that Lee gave out on that podcast was that we sold out a Red Danson. So the brewery hasn't got any more to sell, but we have a handful left in our web store. It's an awesome beer. It's a red IPA. It's a style that it's just like Lee was alluding to. It just doesn't seem to sell as well as pale and hoppy beers, but people seem to really love them when they taste them. So if you do want to try it, you're going to have to move quickly because there's not that many left, and we won't be rebrewing it anytime soon because they are a slow seller normally. We'll definitely be able to sell you
We'll have it on the bar here, so we can do that later on. And pre-recording, I had Simon's Red IPA, which was also excellent.
Oh, you drank it?
Yeah, because it was sat next to me.
There's a good punishment here.
Oh no, we're revealing that one later.
Oh, okay, fine. Right.
You'll find out what that is about later.
Right.
And I feel absolutely no guilt after how you just did the So we were getting on to highlights. So I'd said one of mine was appearing on this podcast. The other of mine would be that last time we announced we've got a new canning line, and I'm just dead chuffed that so far we've already put 125,000 cans through it. Almost without a hitch.
Yeah. No, less said on that, the better.
I've seen the underfills.
That was the previous candidate.
Yeah. One of the awesome things was the guys put a fresh limited. Let me get my words out. The guys put a limited release beer through it, and we were all really excited because when I tried that beer, there was 5 underfills from a 50 hect batch. We only put half of the batch through, and
one that was underfill like it didn't weigh enough for us to legally be able to sell it, and 4 of them we couldn't sell because we dented them. So 5 off a run that was probably 3,000 cans.
And yeah,
it's brilliant in terms
really
of increasing
good.
our yields and profitability. Not great for our staff who want to
Staff
drink.
morale. But yeah, no, we've had some really good improvements with it. One of the biggest problems we've had, and we'll hold our hands up and apologise a bit about this because a few of you, our subscribers have mentioned this on a couple of our recent releases. Some of the oxygen pickups being way too high. And what that's meant is the beer's discoloured in the can, and thankfully, because we send them out fresh, hopefully it didn't have too much of an impact to the flavour, but regardless, we're not happy with that level of oxygen in there, so anyone who has experience of that, if you please contact us, we'll make it right. But the new canning line, the dissolved oxygen levels in the can are so low. It's such a good piece of kit. It fills under counter pressure, which means that there's very little chance for oxygen to ingress into the can before we fill it. And then it has such good settings that we can dial in and basically, get it sub 20 parts per million, which are really, really good levels. We previously were happy sub 100, so to get it down to sub 20 is going to be really, really good. So hopefully you guys at home will see the improvement as well.
Right, so I think we'll jump on to you guys next. So what's been your highlights of the last month?
Besides, obviously, coming and joining us on
Absolutely.
YouTube and
Finally getting down here
Yeah.
to Brewery, you guys. It's sort of. I think
But the last couple of days, you've got to
Yeah.
do something pretty cool, haven't you?
We've had a really busy week this week. We've been down to London and we went down to the Brewers Congress, which is part of Brewers Journal. We were both speaking on panels down there to sort of colleagues of ours and people in the brewing industry. Matt was talking about the.
I got the fun job of talking about the future of cask beer, which was a very hard conversation to draw out any conclusion when you had the head brewer of Sharp sat next year, who owns and brews Doom Bar, which is one of the biggest national brands that kicks a lot of local cask beer at a sensible price off bars. So it was fully stacked with local, but I done my bit to fight the cause and put my points across. But
Yep, and championed the sparkler use.
yeah,
in London.
I thought maybe if we brought the sparkler back, we could start some sort of revolution, and it would go from there, and the prices would increase and all, and everyone would be happy.
And a little bit of success in the awards at that.
Yeah, we very lucky to get to get branding of the year. So that, considering we've been brewing for 5 months now, it's been just a crazy whirlwind, and yeah, really honoured really to sort of have that bestowed upon us by our peers, which has been really nice.
It's quite
And,
nice to have recollection for the brand. You know, use feedback on beers, so it's quite nice for that as well. And also we had some SEBA first competition entered 5 months. We had SEBA results through, and we won a gold with New England session, silver with DDH Pale, and silver with our West Coast IPA as well. So, which was quite nice.
Good start.
You know,
recognition.
when you're still trying to dial things in, and if anyone knows brewers, we.
And never happy.
So.
We're known as the tonka men.
Yeah. Always.
So there's been a lot going on, and of course double collab today, which
Yeah,
has
it's
been,
been amazing.
you know, it's been a great highlight. It's been a long time coming, and it seems moons ago that Lee and Wayne, we met at a Sebadu, and they presented me with their tonka beer that they had, you know,
Ripped
happily
off.
cloned. And you know what? And we'd spoken, we've been drinking over the many years and all that, and yeah, it's great to finally get up here and do that. So it's been quite a full-on. Well, the last few months have been quite full-on. Really.
Well, as well, I like the fact that it's for our own business as well.
Yeah.
The fact
so
that it's on our own steam and
That's
it's bringing
fab.
everything
It's
together. So
Awesome
thank
to
you for
have
having
you
us.
here
Yeah.
at long last, guys.
Thank
And you just alluded to some of the history there, and we probably should have done that up front. So,
Taxi for the Brewers.
so Matt, I'm allowed to say where you once worked, yes?
yes,
Yeah.
So,
We'll
Matt
let
and
you know.
Michelle once worked at a brewery called Hawkshead up in the Lakes District. And Matt conceived a beer called Tonka, which was a 9%?
Yeah, 9.5%.
9.5%
Imperial Porter.
Imperial Porter flavoured with Tonka, which was an ingredient that neither myself or Wayne had ever encountered
It was
before.
the start of our love affair with tonka.
And we found it, and you at Leeds International, there was a little tent outside, and you had a little bar there, and we found this beer there, and I instantly fell in love with the beer, and Wayne carried on around the festival, and I just sat at the bar and drank that.
It was a
I totally
9%
destroyed
stout,
myself
and there was
with
no
this
way.
9% beer.
Yeah, I was just going to drink 9% stouts constantly, but that kind of is a normal now if you join us for a live session. So how things have evolved.
And I kind of promised myself that if we ever did do the commercial brewery thing, that we would work with the ingredient Tonka because of your inspiration. So we did get to do that. We did brew Tonka, which we combined it with the coconut and the cacao and the vanilla. And then, yes, we walked up and presented you with the can and said, this is because of you.
And it's pretty cool to meet Matt for the first time and talk about this and let him know, because it's a funny industry, and I think people aren't. It's not that people are protective of ingredients, because obviously anyone can use any ingredient, but we just really wanted the chance to basically speak to Matt at the time and let him know that the reason we did that was because we were so impressed with what he had done. And Matt was, how many years were you head brewer at Hawkshead? 15 years at Hawkshead. So basically game changing in the industry in terms of what Matt did for Hawkshead, in terms of the beers that he brewed up, all the different special ingredients he used that no one had ever used before, and it's just such a cool thing for us to be able to.
It's quite a funny one to wind it even further back, because the only reason I started using Tonka was down to Michelle. Michelle had a Good Food magazine subscription, and in a monthly category in it was what's hot in cooking, what ingredient, and this month it was Tonka, and we were reading the
Well, it's that whole crossover between ingredients in cooking and brewing, and just really sort of, you can see a lot of sort of similarities in dessert beers and actual desserts. And now there's so much goes on with cocktail blending and beer blending and all this sort of stuff. And so yeah, it's moved on so much. But yeah, to actually, I'm actually doing some research on the Tonka
so on
bean.
that one, I found a load of Tonka beans. I had a little Grundy tank, what we call in the brewery, little 200 litre tank. I had some porter coming through, that went in, and I blitzed a load of Tonka beans. I think I had some cacao in that first one or something. Threw it in, left it there, and my God, within days I was...
It's a potent ingredient.
I tell you that the proto that I don't think made it outside of beer festivals, friends, people that were visiting, we just drank the tank dry, was I had a couple over from Belgium who were very big in beer from over there, and they took one and they're like, never had anything like it ever, and it was and it's still a bit of a love, Marmite for people,
sure.
A lot more people get that perceived big marzipan, X and X and what, and sort of
It's such a cool flavour, and we were joking about it earlier, because when we were brewing today, and I say when we were brewing, it's a very loose term, we did a lot of work on the idea, the recipe, the concept, and the wider team did a lot of the brewing, and we did a little bit of the digging out. And when I say we did the digging out, these two dug out the back, so I'm collectively involving myself in that. But yeah, it was pretty cool to go around, and then as soon as we walked into the lab, there was just that smell of tonka, because the way that we get the flavour out of the tonka bean, I won't go into the detail of it, but you walk into the lab and you can smell it, and it was just like that pungent, which is great. If you love tonka like we do, it's like, oh yeah, we know
and
what's
it
coming
just
through.
so happens we've packaged the Tonka beer ourselves this week as well, called Breaking Origin.
Take 10%.
And 10.5%. It's toasted coconut, cacao, coffee from a local roaster that's very close to us, Red Bank Coffee. and tonka. And you know what? That tonka bean come back to bite me right and royally. I had a little bit of husk carry over from one of the beans, and it blocked one of the heads in the canning line, which caused no manner of mayhem for a little bit, and full apart.
We've had that before with coffee beans.
Yeah. You know what? This little, very minute, could have botted around anywhere in the site last night, went straight up, wedged in one of them.
Of course it
And and it's always in the most biggest, expensive,
Piece of
That's all on
crying,
the floor.
every bit of sticky, lovely Imperial Stout. But we got through it, got into can. We lost a little bit, but
One of the reasons I love tonka, well, I mean, one of its incredibly unique aromatic profile, but I also find, I want to see if you think this is also true, I find it has an incredible ability to mask the alcohol content within a beer. So you have something as big as 10.5, and because of the presence of the tonka, I don't feel like I'm drinking something that's 10.5. I don't know if it's just because it makes it smooth and rounded or what.
I think it does play on mouthfeel completely and stuff like that. It's the interactions with it, because have you done, well, we paired it with sour cherries, didn't we, at one point, and wow, that was another.
You had that at Magic Rock Festival.
That Sesh Fest or one of them. But and that was only because I found someone else who had started pairing tonka with sour styles and all of that.
It was a tonka and mango we
tried.
tried.
Tonka and mango, which I
You-
didn't
you-
feel should
no,
have worked, but
it was so
it was
good.
almost like that lassie with looked like that was it.
Yeah.
So, we were actually about ready for the next beer, but before we do, I'm supposed to talk about my highlights as well, aren't I?
We'll quickly do that, then we'll do a couple of questions. So, what have your highlights of the last month been?
Well, I'm glad you asked me, because I really want to talk about it. So, big highlight was, it sounds really funny to say, but getting all of the Black Friday orders out of the door. So we, hopefully you guys at home managed to take advantage of the offer promotional weekend we did for Black Friday, which is a good news, bad news situation. Good news, we've got loads of sales. Bad news, we've got to fulfill those orders, and our brand new web store manager's got a week off work during the first week of picking them. So it was a huge slog, so thanks for your patience if you ordered from us, and it took us a little bit longer than normal to get all the orders processed. But we got them all out by, I think, the Wednesday, so hopefully everyone at home managed to get their beers by the Thursday. It was a bit of a lessons learning activity, but it was great. It was so busy. One weekend's worth of sales broke our brand new website, and we got the guys who host our new website trying to encourage us to move off their server now already. It is a one-off, it's only a once-a-year occurrence, so we're trying to convince them that we don't need to move. But that was pretty cool. And then the other really cool thing was, I mentioned on the last show that we were working on something with Thornbridge at the time, and that meeting came about through the guys at Piva Bar who happened to bump into in our tap room downstairs. So we followed that up with a catch-up with myself and Lee with the team at Piva Bar, and on the back of that we've now got a couple of permanent lines in the York tap. So the train station as you arrive into York, I'm going to have a couple of our beers on and cast permanently there, which is really cool.
It was a classic 6-7 hour business meeting. Completely forgot to eat.
Who was involved? Jan?
Yeah,
Jamie,
myself,
Jamie,
that's a big lunch.
And I believe about midnight we finally had some barbecue food, but the damage was done by then.
Too late.
But we've always really wanted some sort of presence as you land in York Station. So it's just great to get that, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it as well when you get into York when you're visiting, or if you're heading out of York visiting elsewhere, we'll be able to have a pint of our beer in the station. So that was pretty cool.
Right, so we'll move on to some questions now. These ones are for you, so I'm going to keep that for the next section where we do a bit of a focus on Lakes Brew Co. So we'll jump in with this one. So Lee said on the Beer O'Clock Show podcast that...
Oh God, what did you say?
Well, this might be quite tame compared to some of the things I said. UK breweries were taking shortcuts on hazy pales, substituting grains like oats for proper mash temperatures and yeast. Is this an example of what has been done right with Schooner Matata? So, yeah, and I have to put our hand up and say, in our early days of hazy beer production, we were one of the people that was cheating and loading in the oats and loading in the wheat and not using the right types of yeast. But this does use the right type of yeast. It does address those problems. It only has a small amount of oats and wheat comparative to what we were using before. So this is more akin to how the Americans would make this style of beer. So yeah, happy to say that we no longer do that. And I think as a scene in the UK, we've moved beyond that now, and I think people are doing these kind of things properly now. Next one. The subscription box magazine this month did not include Lee's favourite Brew York beer of the year. Hence the question, what is Lee's favourite Brew York beer of the year?
Anyone who's worked with Lee knows that getting him to respond to an email or a question is a case of tracking him down in the brewery and just tapping him till he answers. So yeah, we were under time pressure to get the booklet out. So here's your chance.
I'll give you two answers. Red Danson, the red IPA, or Kirsch Russell, which was the cherry pastry sour that we did.
Very nice.
Right. Oh, yeah. You read one.
So we've got a question from Vince. Has Nadie been writing these? Please tell us a little bit more about what you do with the tonka. How do you actually add it to the beer? That's from Vince. That's quite... Do you want to go the quick one or a long one?
Well,
Quick.
There's multiple ways you can do it. You can put it directly in the vessel, as Matt has done. You can halve it in an infusion vessel and cycle it across it. You can make a tea where you put it in hot water, or you can make a tincture where you extract the flavour with alcohol. So any of those works. One of them's technically not legal.
So you can't introduce spirits and alcohol into beer that takes it above its actual declared ABV, which is a very naughty thing, and HMRC will be all over you if they found out you were doing that, which is definitely not what we do. We get the tonka in by magic.
Yeah. It's just magic beans.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you end up naming the new canning line? What is its name here? We haven't named it as yet because we feel like we jinxed the last one in doing that. So our original canning line was called Babs because we did a beer called Rhubarb Streisand, and we called the canning line Babs after that. And over time it eventually became known as Babs the Bitch.
Now, well, our canning line, and I don't know whether you know this, but it's on the packaging side, is called Christine because of the horror movie, The Car Christine. And it's like every time it hears us say, it's going really well, all of a sudden something goes, and it's, so Christine.
Yeah.
No
one knows. Why are you doing that?
It's because you're in the middle of it.
Well, our second canning line then got called Donald because it was supposed to make canning great again. And much like Trump's administration, it is now like failure. So it did not make canning great again. So now we've gone on to this new canning line, and we feel like we want to give it this big glorious name. But last time we attempted that, it didn't work. So that's still up in the air. It doesn't have a name yet. So do you want to read one?
If you can read Nadia's writing.
So this is from Alan Mann Pop. Why are collabs so important?
So we can have a drink together, obviously. All sorts of reasons. Learnings. There's lots we can learn from each other. Doesn't matter how long you've been brewing. There's always more you don't know that other people know. So it's great to do that.
I think it's not even down to recipes or what you're brewing. It's having someone else in your brew house looking around. They might pick something up and process, talk to your junior brewers, older brewers, senior brewers, and just sort of, there's within certain industries there can be closed books on, food industries out there where everything's a big secret. I like to think within, our industry and all that, we like to share, grow, and help each other with, and this is another arm of doing that. Really,
we're such a strange and unique industry. So beer in general, there's some big players, as you're all aware. They have such a big market share, and we just want to have some of their market share. So if that means that the guys at Lakes sell beer and take over a Heineken line or a Stella line or whatever, then that's brilliant, because that means more people are drinking good beer. So it's in our interest that more people have drink good beer rather than mainstream beer. So we're a bit of a unique industry because we like to work together, and more of us working together with that common goal, we can hopefully bring better beer out to the wider market.
And I genuinely cannot think of another industry that operates in the way
No.
that ours. Everybody else, they might say that they look to operate that way, but there's still that kind of competitive edge.
Definitely.
And they try and do each other over. Whereas we don't do that in our industry.
No.
We do genuinely try and help each other because the aspiration is to beat, as Wayne says, big beer.
Because there's a like I don't know, counterintuitive thing. So we bring a new brewery to York. You guys have sold into York before via Pivovar, which well, you might have sold into other ways as well. But we're not sat here thinking, oh God, if we bring a new brewery into York, they're going to take sales away from us. That's might be stupid of us to think that way, but we don't. We think, well, these guys are great guys. We've worked with them before. We've got a lot in common with them. We want their brewery to succeed as much as we want ours to succeed, because that means more, like I say, more people are drinking good beer, and it kind of helps us all. So
I think that's it. It's like the exposing your fans to our beer and vice versa. And it's like bringing you guys up to the Lakes and stuff like that. It's a complete sort of market share that we try and do. But I think in the very beginning, collabs always sort of started as this knowledge share. And there has been a bit of movement where it's become a big marketing sort of thing, whereas it's like, oh, if I get in with these guys, it'll just... But we like to think, and we do collabs on the basis that it is friendship and knowledge sharing and learning from everybody, and that's how it always started and how we would always carry on. So that's sort of the main keys for us with
It's interesting
collabs.
that you do draw attention to. There are some in our industry that are now a little bit more precious.
Yes.
And they will only work with people who they think have a profile that's going to benefit them or take them to the next level. So they'll only associate themselves with certain other businesses.
which is it's counterintuitive, because you've basically got, how did they get the profile they've got today without doing that? Nadia's going to tell Jacob off here. So.
I was going to say, there's also a second part to this that we might answer a bit later. Is there a Brew York / Lakes collab with tonka involved?
I mean, we'd never do that, would we?
No.
Too obvious.
Too obvious.
Too obvious. Never.
Watch this space, guys.
We have done 2 brews today as well.
One, possibly 2 of them. Watch this space. Watch this space. Right, so now we're on to our second beer, which I can't even pour because I've not finished my last one yet.
Same. Naughty.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to find you to pour it into.
That's fine.
Mouth.
So
Have you
while
swallowed
you
the,
pour
oh, you
yours,
have?
Nadia's, she doesn't trust us, quite rightly, so she's already changed it. So now we're on to release the Kranakan. So our friend Andy Elusive does this annual event called Collabogeddon. And for Collabogeddon, he takes 12 breweries. Are you off again?
Yeah,
I'm winning. I'm usually the worst, and I'm...
You're trapped though, Matt. There's no getting
Oh no, I can get out if I need to.
Right.
The worst.
So, I don't need that mic there.
I've turned it into a game now.
And speaking of games, we were discussing what his potential punishment might be. I think we need to now amplify that to at least double. So get more suggestions in, please. Maybe we'll do 2. I need my mic on. You really can't hear me? Really? Okay. Well, if you didn't hear that, I said we need to double his punishment. So more suggestions, please, or we do double of whatever you were considering before. So back to talking about this beer. So yeah, Andy Elusive, he and Ruth, once a year they do a festival called Collabogeddon, and they bring together 12 different breweries, and those 12 different breweries have a home leg and an away leg. So they each brew 2 different beers with 2 different partners. And for one of those, we were paired up with Fine Ales this year. Fine Ales just celebrated their 20th anniversary this year. and they were one of the kind of vanguard of the craft beer movement in the UK. They were one of the first to use the Citra hop. In fact, until very recently, I thought there was a bit of debate as to whether it was them or whether it was Oakham. And then I heard Jamie on a podcast a little while ago that said it was Oakham, but Oakham give them the tip-off to say that this hop
I've
is...
got another tip-off.
Another bit of news.
We actually shared the first shipment with Oakham as Citra
right.
Hawkshead into the country with Lundy P.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So I still didn't have the full story then. So they were one of the 3 first adopters of Citra in the UK in creating Jarl, which even to this day is one of the best UK low ABV cask beers. Truly outstanding beer. And they have created one hell of a brewery based on a farm almost in the middle of nowhere. That is shocking quality.
That's triple
why
the
mine was
punishment now.
Yeah,
And wherever they can, they've tried to do the farm to glass thing. So every raw ingredient that they possibly can, that they can possibly control, that they can possibly grow, and then bring that through into the glass. To the point that they've got the Origins project now where they're doing spontaneous fermentation, and they're taking the spent grain and they're feeding it to deer that they now grow. So they've got spent grain fed venison.
Is it expensive?
And horned cows. That's
And
what
what?
I call them.
Horned cows.
Horned hairy cows.
Horned hairy
You mean-
cows.
Oh, what do we call those?
Highland cows,
cattle or
Highland
something
coos.
like that.
Anyway,
You'd
so,
fit in quite nicely.
so that's a lot on fine ales. So we may have tipped the scales a little bit with Andy, because when Andy said who the breweries were that we could potentially work with, I might have said it would be amazing if our selection fell on fine ales. And luckily our selection fell on fine ales, so we got to work with them. Pavel came here, who actually leads up their Origin project. And he came here because we didn't just brew the one beer together that day, we brewed 2. We did this beer for Collaboragan, and we also brewed a golden sour using buckwheat and honey, which is more his kind of thing. We've got that sat downstairs in some wine barrels, and that's going to sit there for probably about 3 years. So,
What?
I was in it earlier.
But back to this specific beer. So we said Kranakan is a traditional Scottish dessert. It's flavoured with raspberries and oats and honey and whiskey. So we've done the kind of fine thing as best as we can, where we've gone with authentic Scottish ingredients. We've got Scottish raspberries, we've got Scottish honey.
Heather honey.
Heather honey, which I hope the company forgives me, but I can never remember the name of the company we got it from. But they've just won a 3-star taste award for this particular type of honey. So we put that in here. And in an attempt to get the kind of whiskey character in there, at the end of fermentation, we got some Speyside whiskey.
Easy for you to
barrels,
say.
Yeah, indeed. Whiskey barrel chunks, and we put them out in our infusion vessel, and then we cycled the beer across them. So it's not therefore a barrel-aged beer; it's what you might call a wood-aged or a wood-infused beer, and it's something like Innis and Gunn do up in Scotland all the time.
Do you need my help? Do you need my help pouring these?
Would you call it okay?
I wouldn't call this okay. No, we just tried to pick up some of the whiskey character from the wood.
It's great doing that. I'd done it with a mojito sour once and it worked amazing.
It was one of my favourite beers that I've tasted straight from tank this year. This one, it was. It might have been pre-centrifuge, so it's probably why it was. I guess all the fruit's still in it as well, and
There's
it was.
There's plenty of raspberries.
Right,
in it.
yeah. So.
Have you been on that buying spree again?
Yeah, well, it was a quite pricey beer. This one. Thankfully, it was a 9%, so the duty, the tax we were paying on the beer wasn't quite as much as some of the ones.
Was it like 600 kilos of raspberries, 200 kilos of very, very high quality honey?
That was
Is that right, Tom?
200.
About that?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was the honey. How do you remember, Jacob? How much the honey invoice was? It was. A lot of honey.
Keeps them awake at night. Oh, honey, can't have honey on my toast anymore.
That's the worst thing. We didn't even get any to put on toast to taste it. Just
It tasted really good.
you had it on the toast.
It's quite mad though for the.
I bet you had the honey on some sort of. I don't know, sourdough particular loaf or something that.
You know, for the
Nadia lived in
fermentable
London, she
nature
knows
of
all
honey
this.
though as well, there's some character, you know.
It's come through, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's not an easy ingredient to work with.
Not
No.
at all. It's, usually, it's feeding yeast with expensive sugar, really.
Yeah.
It's,
But have you ever worked with strawberry before? Because that's the one for me. I love strawberry flavour, but the yeast just blitzes it, doesn't it? You get nothing really left because it fully ferments the sugar.
Entwined with the sugar in that one, so you get almost nothing from it.
So a bit digressed a little bit. It says my name on the prompt, but I've got no idea what it says. I genuinely aren't drunk. I just can't read it. It's tiny.
Right,
The words below it are in bigger font. Why?
I remember what this section. No, the next section is. So we've been brewing with Lakes Brew Co today. What have we brewed?
Oh, I'm going to tell you guys.
What you actually brewed.
Yeah.
What are the two brews?
So this is a cool one. So we've the new brew site. We have two twin 50 hectolitre mash tuns and two 50 hectolitre kettles. So hectolitres is a weird measure that only about 2 industries in the world use. A hectolitre is 100 litres. Barrels are old school. At least it means something. A brewer's barrel is is four firkins or 72 pints times 4. So we're just going off on a weird tangent. But yeah, so hectolitres is kind of the industry standard, but it's kind of a weird one to use. So 50 hectolitres is 5,000 litres, or roughly about 8,000 pints, 9,000 pints, something like that. So we brewed. We started the brew yesterday, which was the lower strength, accessible tonka-based beer that we made.
So we're doing a beer that's going to be an amaretto sour, which is something that independently both myself and Matt and Michelle, we've always wanted to do this style. So when we talked about doing this collab, it was like immediately the thing that came out that we have to do an amaretto sour because tonka is almond.
Yeah.
It is very distinctly
it's
prominent
amazing the
almond.
amount of times we've sat there and had an amaretto sour.
And we'd
and
be like,
just-
this just would cross over amazingly, and it just, it's...
So no pressure.
So we're doing an amaretto sour. So we've done quite a traditional German approach to a sour with a lot of wheat. Going to get reasonable clarity to it, and then we're going to put into it some lemon concentrate to get that real zing that you would get from the kind of bitters that you would ordinarily have in a sour. We're going to have a certain amount of cherry, but not to make it red. We're going to go for that more kind of golden appearance that you would expect with the amaretto sour. And then we're going to whack loads of tonka in for masses of. I think of all the things we're ever going to have done, probably collectively, this is going to be the biggest hit of tonka we've ever done.
Tonka-based
And then
beer.
Lee's going to buy a new canning line with nitro dosing, and we're going to put it into nitro dose cans, and it's going to come out.
We can nitro.
Oh wow!
Because of counter pressure filling,
you can
nitro in tank.
Yes, if you can, exactly.
Damn, that backfired, didn't it?
But yeah, if we can nitrogenate the beer in tank, then we can package the beer
And
ready to
it
go.
didn't totally backfire because we weren't thinking of doing that, and now we can.
So yeah, it can be the first nitrogenated beer that we try. What could go wrong with a very limited beer?
And what we haven't told you is the name of the beer. So there is a collective theme to the two beers that we've done together. So the first one, the amaretto sour, is going to be called Rodney, You Tonka.
There we go.
Sorry, we needed a Tonka name, we needed the pun, so it was my idea, but it wasn't. Sometimes we kind of feel like we need to go on a theme, and I think that one's quite cool. I think the other one's quite cool as well, but we sometimes you have to just go there, and even if it's an obvious pun, we have to go with it. So can you guess what type of theme the can's going to have? No.
Anyone? Where's the first Rodney, You Tonka, or rather, Rodney, You Plonka?
Exactly, only fools and horses. Yeah. So
Multiple.
and then the second beer we brewed, which so the sour was started yesterday and finished today, which is the benefit of having the twin kettles that we have at the new site. The second beer was brewed on the massive mash tun today, so we used 2 ton of malt in this beer, and we brewed a 40 hec batch in our 50 hec kit, and it's going to be a 10% Imperial Stout, obviously. So 10% Imperial Stout, and it's going to be tonka,
Maple and
I can't remember.
ginger.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah,
So it's going to be a big style maple tonka gingerbread stout.
It's going to be.
and no lactose.
No lactose.
I hope online we got as big a ooh as we got in the room.
What was the?
I snuck a few bags in when it wasn't looking.
What were the bags by the kettle today? Maltodextrin.
Maltodextrin. So yeah,
Gravity.
we used a type of brewing sugar called maltodextrin, which the thing most people would know it for is it's what you make candy floss out of. And it's an unfermentable form of sugar that kind of adds body and leaves a residual sweetness in the beer.
So we use lactose a lot. You probably realise that by now, and that's one of the big things we use it for is the residual sweetness, which kind of helps mask the strength of a stronger beer. It also helps with the body and other things. So it's unfortunately it's a milk-derived product, so it's not vegan friendly. So it's something we're going to try a lot harder this year to use less lactose, which Lee rolls in his sleep bed at night and. What am I going to do with all that lactose?
All those kickbacks I was getting from the lactose sellers as well.
Yeah. So we're going to do a concentrated effort this year to try and use release a few more specials with no
this
lactose
year.
in.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, 2022. Sorry,
I was going to say.
this year's done now. I'm already done with it. Especially all the announcements from the government recently. I'm done.
We've made a commitment next year that, particularly for our big dark beers, there are a few that are going to be coming back. They're your favourites. They're going to have the lactose in they've always had. But for the new beers that we're doing next year, half of them are not going to have lactose in. So we're going to do a lot more accessible beers. So it's one of the things we get most chastised about, or one of the biggest requests we have is, can you not do these types of flavour profiles without the lactose? So next year we try and do exactly that. And you can tell us how well it goes.
So the second beer is called?
It's called Origami Black Belt. Which came from Ant, who gets yet another box of beer for his skill in naming beers.
I skillfully came up with an agreement with him in the meeting that I'll go half of my case with half of his. So I get half of 10%, he gets half of 5%. So. I've got too many strong good beers anyway.
So the Origami Black Belt is less of an obvious Only Fools and Horses reference. So there's a particular scene where Del Boy...
Don't get your phone out and play on YouTube. We've seen it enough.
Yeah. Whenever I go on YouTube now, all I get is Only Fools and Horses clips coming up. I've looked at too many of them now. So there's a particular scene where he gets confronted and someone says to him, you don't want to fight my guy's got a fifth dan or a second dan in karate.
Which...
I've actually got a third down in judo.
Which is why we called it.
To which Del Boy's response is, yeah, well, I've got a black belt in origami. So hence, that's why this beer.
To which he moves forward to yell policeman and then kick him in the nuts.
Yeah.
Bollocks.
But anyway, look it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
At that point,
It's your turn.
I'm going to to Lou, but for this next section, we're handing over to you guys anyway. So,
I might as well come again then.
So, if you'd like to share with the guys a little bit of your history, what Lurks is all about, the floor is yours.
Nice.
And I'll be back as quick as I can, mate.
All right.
So I'll do a little prompting because officially you guys... Oh, his chair was popping up. So officially you guys, did you say 5 months old now? 6 months or so?
5 months officially brewing. So we got the brew kit back end of July this year. After
a few months.
a bit of a wait.
Chinese delay.
There was, well, COVID for a start. It's not making anything fast. Someone parking a boat sideways in the Suez Canal.
Doesn't help.
Doesn't help at all. Then trying to get a train out of China in the end. Right, we're going to load this brew kit. We're going to get it out. We're going to get it out quick. We're going to take the longest train route out. We're going up through Russia. We're doing a lot. Easy. Booked, confirmation, everything. White goods retailers come in. Chuck us off. about to sail, HMRC get involved, and apparently under the codes we were travelling on, Russia wouldn't let us pass through because it was the same codes as nuclear reactor parts. So, yeah, we're back to square one again. So, yeah, they then asked us if we'd like to strip it all out remotely out there and label each part individually. They'll consider shipping it by train, to which our manufacturer and producer went, well, if you went by boat, you'd probably be halfway there by now. So, yeah, so that delay. We were hoping for a pre-Easter sort of thing going through, but yeah, delays and all of that.
So I think pretty much everyone from our brew team and our wider team have been up to visit you guys already now. I was talking to Alex from our web shop earlier, and he said, where did you say Matt and Michelle were from? I was like, Lake. He said, I'm pretty sure I went there when I was in the Lake District recently. So you've set up in Kendal, and your tap room opened officially, was it last week or week before?
2 weekends ago, yeah. So we're looking to do a pop-up weekend every month or so, and just have basically a food truck there, and just have a really relaxed and chilled sort of session over the weekend. And we'll look to sort of extend it during the year as we sort of get to grips with it.
But basically we don't have any staff, so
No.
we have to do it ourselves, so we need to sleep at some weekends. So, and we have 2 younger kids as well, so
They like to see us occasionally as well.
If you ever want to take a minibus up, and all you need to do is promise pork pies and
Yeah.
oh
we're sorry for
yeah.
that.
Oh, if you're ever in the area and you've got people, yep.
Yeah, drop him. But yeah,
So the question, where in Kendal is it? I know you
so
probably
we're
heard it.
about 5 minutes away from the train station on just a little industrial estate, which you can sort of walk up the road and over a footbridge, and we're right there. So we're about 10 minutes walk from the centre of Kendal, so it's
easy connection,
Yeah.
straight off the.
We're going to stick a GoPro on Matt's head and send him like a.
Wondering, but as I do, I'll probably end up
be
talking to someone.
This is the longest
I'll go
route
get
ever.
a sandwich from there, and that 10-minute train journey or that 10-minute walk over the.
Sat at a bar having a nice cafe.
Like, where is he now?
That's alive. So yeah, we'll look to bring it, but we're pretty much. If you can get a train into Kendal, we're within 5 minutes of that station. It's really handy.
And what's your mix so far then of core beers and specials? What type of beers are you doing?
So at the moment, core beers, certain levels of that have always been. I like session beers, I like strong beers, I like all beers, but especially Lake District based, a lot of tourists, a lot of hills, a lot of walking. So we've got quite a nice solid core at the moment that quite accessible to all, varying ABVs. Basically at the moment on cask we're concentrating on a 3.5% pale ale, which to me, I've brewed one once or twice in a past life. That was quite successful. So
And let's just-
A nitty bit of brewing.
yes. So yeah.
But ours does not have the same
No,
malt bill, and
it's-
it does not have the same hop bill as a previous 3.5% beer that Matt has designed.
As much to everyone's liking, and I get
Is that-
inundated emails about.
Is that much in the same way that this is definitely not based on a Disney film?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
And
Just as long as we're
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we've kept it tight at the moment from the start on cask. Cask's a massive passion of mine, been a big part of my brewing career. But with trying to spread everything around and not try and split all styles into every unit, so I've tried to keep it tight from the beginning. So we're concentrating a core cask a month, could range from anything. We have a DDH pale, and quite a new sort of hazy pale in there. Hopped Earth Idaho 7 Citra Mosaic. New England session, so once again sort of taking on that Schooner Matata style there. Like to go in, nice sort of oat base, but good yeast, good hops, bit of bio, good drinkability. And we have a West Coast IPA, which a lot of people have been stepping away from recently and all that. And
It's my favourite beer.
West Coast is best coast to me.
Yeah, definitely.
It's, and it's, the sales have been amazing. We're completely out of stock at the moment, holding stocks on hazier stuff, which is absolutely wonderful. So put a lot of time in, and I've still got a lot of way to go because I really love that style, and I hope a lot more things turn back to that. So we've just recently been able to get sort of a couple of dips into darker beer. We had a coffee porter out recently, another porter collab with Neptune from Liverpool. Just released Breaking Origin, which was tonka, cacao, toasted coconut, and coffee, 10.5 Imperial Stout. So that's been packaged this week, so it's fresh out there. We have a
hand on the bar here.
hand on the bar here. Yes,
So
of
yeah,
course.
the coffee porter's on the
Lost in Strata and Galaxy.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that was
so-
the one I wanted to drink as my chaser beer.
So we-
7%.
We
wasn't it?
also
So-
have a sort of changing hop series called Lost In, whereas we change ABVs up. It could be lower, it
Styles.
could be higher, could be this malt bill, that. So it's sort of open to interpretation and how I feel those hops would shine in that malt bill, what yeast and all of that. So this round we've got Lost In Strata and Galaxy. It's a 7.4% DDH IPA, which is, it's on the higher end of the haze scale. There's plenty of fruit, plenty of pineapple in it. Yeah. Very
Yeah.
Big and
drinkable.
fruity.
I'm pretty excited for wrapping up tonight for a change. Because as soon as we're wrapped up, I'm going to go try one. It sounds really cool.
But, if I
we
could
got-
cut in, I think I speak for a hell of a lot of people in the industry when I say it's fantastic to see the stellar start that you both had. In particular,
and the wider team. So yeah,
and
you
your
guys
wider
are sat here
team.
today.
The
But
lyrics of that.
you've got a team
in
of 5.
particular,
haven't you?
knowing how things ended at your previous place, to see how you've kind of moved on from that, and Jesus, you're flying, guys.
Yeah.
So it's a long way that.
No, it's amazing to see, and
Thank
like,
you.
we were so excited when we heard about what you were doing, and obviously we managed to share a teepee with you guys at Leeds, and then yes, so the West Coast was if you saw the teepee in Leeds, me and Lee were propping up the opposite side of teepee, just drinking the West Coast.
We apologise.
Yeah.
No, it's quite right.
I don't.
Well, yeah, I was going to say I didn't have to take him back to the train station that night. So.
You had to carry me back to the train station.
And that's another thing, once again, is, Leeds was on the horizon and we heard TP's up, and it was great to hear that,
We got
Brew
to
York
share it,
were
yeah.
doing, they were looking after that tent and wanted us as neighbours in there, and
Yeah, we
what?
asked for you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
it was,
yeah.
Meant a lot through that.
If we do it next year, it'll be the Tonka TP. So.
Done,
Being
done.
costume
Yeah.
sorted and all that.
So we've actually got
Okay,
loads
we
of
have
questions
to do
for
So
you
many
guys.
questions.
And
So,
I really need to go to the
We'll
toilet
do
now.
2 or 3, and then I
Don't-
think
don't
we're
get
supposed to be
any
on the next beer,
technical
aren't we?
ones for
So
me.
I'll be back really
Well, it looks like you've got a few questions
Oh,
coming
good.
your way then.
there's
long
one,
as
there's
it's
one
nothing
from
about brewing,
Bill.
I'm
So
all right.
this is from Bill. It's Lakes. I blooming love your coffee porter. So good. So that's a good question.
That's fine. I can deal with those ones.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing though.
Did you find
Coffee
that challenging
porter.
one to
Yeah,
answer?
totally.
This is from Derek. Where could I get the Lakes beers down south? Really good question.
We're not actually distributing down south ourselves yet. Obviously, you can buy them online.
Lakesbrewco.co.
Yeah.
Anything like you
Sorry.
do, yeah?
No, we've not. I mean, we've just not had the stock as yet to sort of like put out to sort of wholesalers or anything, which is an amazing sort of place to be, and we're really, really sort of chuffed for the support. But yeah, at the moment, there's been lots of wholesalers coming to us and asking, "Can we have your beer?" And we're like, "Not yet," because we want to sort of look after our local sort of people and like just sort of the north as well, because that's sort of obviously where our heart lies really at the end of the day.
What's your website?
It is www.lakesbrewco.com. So yeah, it's pretty, .com. Yes, we went big on this one.
Yeah, we kind of struggled because there was a blogger in New York who had Brew York. So okay, .co.uk it is. So, like, to what extent does the absolutely fantastic Lake District scenery inspire your brewing, and how? That's from Ian.
inspire the brewing? I think it's for me, in my sense, it's basically, we've got the modern side of the Lake District. You've got the chintzy and the tea rooms and the Beatrix Potter sort of style, and everybody knows the lakes for sheep and walking and all this sort of stuff. But there's also that, just sheep. Accessories from New Zealand as well. That's just another one. Yeah, but it's like there's a completely different side of the lakes that a lot of people don't tap into. There's a hell of a lot of artisanal producers, small. There's the farmers. It's very raw and authentic. So we sort of try and keep that as well within our sort of brewing sort of styles, I think. And it's like we don't want to alienate anybody with our brewing as well, because we feel that beer is a collective and everybody should be able to enjoy it. So we don't want to make something that's really, really going to sort of be very niche in one way, but also it's what we like to brew. I mean, not that we've brewed anything that I particularly like drinking at the moment. I'm a big sour fan, so hopefully that'll. Yeah, we need to get a sour for me, please. Thank you.
Next beer. That's
Well,
like a
this is
prompt
it, we've
for the
done
next beer. So on cue then.
I would step that one.
Yeah. So like on cue, we've got. Oh, where's the sour?
We're getting there. So next question.
Oh, is that where the beers are?
Question that's on point because you just won an award for this. Love the branding on Lakes Brew Co cans. It's easily recognisable. And then the question is, how is the new Imperial Stout tasting?
First of all, though, can I say thank you for the branding, because it's sort of like something that's quite close to, obviously, myself and the landscapes within the Lake District. And you can see the Lake District landscape pretty much in our cans, and wherever you are, you can pretty much see those layers. For me, that's where the inspiration came from for the.
It's just really eye-catching. The colour, the contrasting colours. You can see you can recognise the style. And like when you go up to the tap room, the brewery,
Yeah.
but also the tap room.
The tap room, yeah.
You can spot it a mile off, and it just looks really, really good. It's eye-catching. So
Thanks.
yeah, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
From Joe, this is the coffee porter.
Oh, nice.
Because we're not drinking enough on
No,
that.
And with regards to the
You guys have probably
Imperial
tasted
Stout, like most brewers, we try it through packaging, through fermentation packaging. We get grumpy when it hits 1 degree in a bright tank because we think all flavours disappeared. We package it, we send it out to the wide world, and we don't get a chance to sit at the bar and try it on keg ourselves yet. So until tonight, when we finish here, I'm going to go and enjoy. But at packaging, it was tasting amazing. Very little alcohol in there, just a nice sort of balance. We hit it sort of hot side with a load of coconut as well for quite a big mouthfeel. Sort of doesn't carry on in the aroma and that much, but really silks up the mouthfeel. Then aged onto a lot of cacao, coffee, and then magical tonka beans. So
that's kind of a big difference to what we do. So we've never hot side. When we say hot side, we've never used coconut hot side. That means when we go into the brew house. So the start of the brewery equipment, we've got the mash tun and the kettle. So we've never used coconut that side. We've only ever used coconut once it gets to the fermenter. Once the yeast starts working or finishes working, we do our coconut fusion. So if you try the origin, sorry, it's not called origin, breaking origin, and then give us some feedback. Let us know if you can taste the.
And I love, Matt, how you describe what that can bring in a beer, doing it on the hot side. So we couldn't bring it into an established beer like tonka because that has a profile that people expect.
Yeah.
Whereas I think I'd like to do it in maybe a hot side and a cold side and see
side
what that
by side.
Side by side, And I think the combination of the two, because one, you're trying to get the mouthfeel and the kind of the backbone as such, and then the other, you're trying to get the aromatics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So the next beer isn't mine to talk about, but you've probably noticed we're pouring and about to start drinking Twisted Transistor. So Over to you, Lee. I can talk about this one.
Right, so here we have a sour IPA. So over our history, we've done a number of these things. I'm a bit of a metalhead, so as you might tell, because I always have Slipknot or Hailstorm or whatever on. Are you off again?
I'm just going to close the door but while I'm up there.
Gee,
It's cold. It's only about being cold.
even for you, this is poor form. So yeah, I'm a bit of a metalhead, and I love sour IPAs. And whenever we do one, we always do it metal themed. So Twisted Transistor is a song by Korn. So we've done this particular sour IPA based on their song. We've done ones in the past based on Rage Against the Machine tunes. We had Take the Sour Black. We had that one. What else do we have? We've done Funk and Nancy.
Nice.
Before. What else? Oh,
I've missed all
right.
of these.
No, that's Nothing Else Matters was a stout, and that's a Metallica one. But yeah, right. Somebody type below this video and let Nadia know which one of these we've done before.
I'm going to recognise that one. So.
You don't need to recognise it; they just need to tell you. They need to fill in my memory banks. But anyway, that was one of my favourite. Vulgar Display of Sour, Pantera reference. Yes, yeah, we've done that one before. Was that one that was with Magic Rock, wasn't it? Yeah. So sour IPAs have been a big part of history. It's a style that I absolutely love. They don't fly off the shelves, so it's not a style I can do a lot of, unfortunately. So what you do with a beer like this is you do the traditional kettle souring approach. So you're going to create your wort in the same way that you ordinarily would. You're then going to boil it to eradicate any form of bacterial microbe that might be present. You're then going to inoculate it with some form of lactobacillus at a temperature around about 37 to 39. That lactobacillus is going to create lactic acid. It's going to drop the pH, and then from that point forward, you then start to treat it like any old IPA. You're going to bring the temperature up, you're going to boil it, you're going to add some hops that add some bitterness, you're going to add some hops that add some aroma, and you're then going to, in the cold side, you're going to dry hop it. And this is where your biggest contribution of hopping is going to be. It's going to be dry side. But because you've got this acidity in there, it's really good at just bringing the juicy kind of character out of the hops. So my favourite hop for using in this type of beer is Simcoe. Simcoe can be kind of piney, it can be kind of resiny, but something about when you have that at a low pH, it just turns into juice. So I really just love using Simcoe in this type of style. And we did Citra, Mosaic, and Simcoe in this particular one. Although I've written the wrong thing on there.
Well, this is sour IPAs is one of my obsessive styles that I've loved through. I think Tittle or something had one of the first sour IPA series that I had when they had their Sir Mosaic and X and X rolling through. And you know what? I've got pretty good track record on most styles, but the most style I've screwed up is sour IPAs. You know what? And this is tasting wonderful. It's you know, the balance through and the juicy. It's a style I've had a stab at 2 or 3 times, and yeah.
It's a style that sorry, go on.
It's hard. I think it's, especially when you introduce fruit as well, there can be some clashes in, especially kiwi fruit. That's not very good kiwi fruit.
Oh, it sounds like there's a story there, man.
Yeah, we won't go there though.
I kind of fell out of love a little bit with sour IPA, so I wasn't too upset that we hadn't brought one out in a while. And when this came out, I wasn't like I was super excited for it to be back. But now that it is back, I realise how much I missed this style.
I think sometimes you can drop with the dry hop aroma, how it can sort of, you know, with that acidity balance and the dry hopping, it's almost degraded notes on the dry hop. But then when you get those vibrant notes coming through the mouth, you're like, wow.
I was about
And then you sort of go back to that, and you're like, well, I'm back there again,
that taste
but I want to
doesn't
be
match
there.
up. Yeah, the taste doesn't match up with the smell, and that's for an IPA. When we talk about dry hopping, and what we're trying to do is get that amazing aroma into your palate, so you want to try it. It doesn't really feel that way with a sour IPA. You can smell a bit.
You know, it's a bit damp, a bit, you know, sort of.
Exactly. Toilety. It's like.
But it's within style, though.
Exactly.
The thing that I find about this style is, for me, there's something that needs to make me go back for the second mouthful, and that's the same for any type of beer.
Yeah.
And I like really bitter beer because it's the bitterness that makes me go,
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed that last sip. The last thing I'm left with is the bitterness. That's what pulls me back to the glass. And with this kind of style, it's the same thing, but it's that little bit of zing, it's that little bit of tartness, it's that juiciness. So you take it, it washes away. By the time it's just finished washing away, you're like, I'm going back in for more.
You're happy to forget the fact that on the aroma, the smell from the sourness. And I forgot about.
I was just saying how the Achilles of my brewing's been sour IPAs.
Yes. Yeah.
It's it is an interesting one. We did what was that beer? I say we did. Magic Rock did a really cool beer, and it.
What type of style? A sour IPA style? Or?
Yeah. Oh God, what the hell is that beer called? We forget this every single time. It was the
one that we brewed.
Yeah.
Vulgar Display
of Sour.
Yeah, we did that while we were out the room.
Well, it's almost like I missed something.
We're not mentioning what time you're out the room.
Yeah, when you're on your seventh loo break, we covered that.
I told you it's cold, but it's cold. 1 in, 2 out.
No.
That's the guy in the toilet told me. So I'm going with that.
Yeah, move on.
So yeah, sour IPAs. It's a pretty unique style, and hopefully you guys appreciate it as well. It's not that sour. There is a little bit of a zing, but you're getting so much fruitiness because of the style, as opposed to And
I'd be interested to hear what you on
aroma.
Not so much as.
But you love your sours, don't you, Michelle?
Yeah, you probably find the
ones that smell.
the semis.
I mean, you've got the bit of a lambic-y sort of a smell on this. You know, you've sort of your Guernsey sort of. Yeah, it's got your funky notes in there, but then that doesn't translate to the taste. It's not as challenging on the palate, I don't think. Sour IPAs aren't as challenging.
No.
This is from me, who drinks sours and things like that. So maybe someone. I mean, I think these are quite a nice gateway into sour. You know, it's like that sort of crossover where it sort of introduces you to them, but it's not as intense. And once you get into that style, you can definitely appreciate your more Guernsey's real Belgian lambic-y sort of.
We haven't made it our way on the tour yet, and if Polly's watching, block your ears a second. Polly's Lee's wife. Lee's got an interest in Belgian cellar, and we can go have a walk around there.
It may involve 3 racks.
Could you imagine though, with that drinkability of the sour, but the geeks got the hip off the nose with the fresh hop?
Yes.
What a completion and style that would be.
I don't know how you do it, but like
No, exactly.
So one of the things that to cut you off there. Go on.
For me, I think there are things that us brewers like to make and we like to consume, and sour IPAs are one, and your red IPAs and your India stouts, and these are all things that we love to make and we love to consume.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting take on the way in which we can utilise the hops. But for whatever reason, they've either been a thing in the UK and they're falling away, or they're struggling to become a thing in the UK. And this, for me, is struggling to become a thing in the UK, and I'd love this to be a thing in the UK. I would so like to do these all the time. I think it's a great style. I think we do them well, and I'd just love to have the opportunity to do more of these.
Did we talk about that beer we did, Vulgar Display of Sour? No, we did it. did a really cool twist on a sour IPA. We did a black sour IPA with
Sour black.
That was
Take-
always
yeah.
been on my list as well.
we did it with Rossi
One
from
of our
Alpha
slowest ever
Well,
selling beers. You might
Well, I could imagine.
Yeah.
Because
But
I
it was really
tried
cool. It was really cool.
some here at Watch Students done a black sour IPA about 10 years ago. I tried it, I thought that's wonderful. Never sell though, but yeah.
I loved it, you loved
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
but it wasn't a great seller because people don't associate with the dark appearance of beer with sourness. And I really hoped it was going to take off because I had a second one lined up. I was going to do a Megadeth one, In My Darkest Sour.
yeah. but a black IPA is already quite a mindfuck for a lot of people anyway. You
Well-
know?
Yeah.
So imagine doing a black sour IPA, so they're expecting it to be like easy going. It's, oh,
Which, once
Was
again,
that right?
black IPA I really enjoyed, loved. I finally, after a year or whatever, got to a point where I thought I'd nailed the best black IPA ever. Then no one ever brought the style again. That
they're
was
such
it.
slow sellers, and it's so annoying because they're great beers. They are so good. And what we find is black IPAs, US browns, red ales, all these things are things that brewers love.
Yeah.
And we will pretty much all go to each other's breweries and drink those styles. And then everyone always tells us, but they're really slow sellers, so we don't brew them very
Yeah.
often. It's so frustrating because we just want the general public to drink more of them, but unfortunately,
Yeah, I mean, Andy at Elusive has the hashtag Bipper Comeback.
it's been going for 3 years and it's still not come back.
It was quite funny
shorthand
that.
for black IPA.
Because I was sat with Andy at Brewers Congress. He was just a long one.
The nicest man
And
in
I,
Britain.
Yep.
I shouted down to him, black IPA then, Andy. And this older sort of quite gentleman-like guy in front of me turned around and went, what a preposterous idea. And turned back round and that was it.
No, and then you went, it's his fault.
Yeah, it's his fault and he gave him a mouthful.
It wasn't the guy. It wasn't the guy from Sharps, was it?
Oh, no, he was, yeah.
Questions. We've been chewed
Jibber
on.
jabbering.
So, are you heading to Finefest next year? That's
Yes.
from Richard. So you guys heading there?
I was about to plug it in your earlier spot that it is a must go to.
It's a fabulous
We-
festival.
We would love to be there as brewers. If we aren't being there as brewers, we will be
love
there
to
as
go
punters.
Do.
It's- yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no,
gonna be
I
so
just
good.
bring lots of midgie repellent because they get a bit intense.
They fight you.
Well, especially
They're on
Carry
the next
away
level.
your stuff.
they sense brewers because we
Yeah.
don't get to see the sunlight very often. So like they sense our like pale
Fresh.
skin and they say, yes, that tastes good, full of beer.
I had a great brewery tour at your place last month. Are there any breweries that you'd love to have a tour around you haven't already? Yeah, Sierra Nevada, Chico.
Yeah.
Definitely. If someone else is paying for the flights.
It's one of those weird ones because that's kind of my thing. I love going to breweries. It's such a busman's holiday, but turned up at your place a few months back. Every time I go on holiday, I always try and coincide it with a brewery visit because it's a passion. It's what we set the business up because we love brewing, and it's just great to see what other people are doing. So it's kind of a thing. So wherever I'd go, I always look for a brewery and see if I can have a nosy around.
Well, let's do one each. I've said Sierra Nevada and Chico. I've stolen the holy grail of every brewer. So where would it be for you guys?
I've always wanted to have a tour around Harvey's.
Really?
Yeah. I always, yeah.
To see the yeast strain that's on its 60 millionth
I
generation.
have a very big fascination with Harvey's and everything they do down there. And I have a really sad story of how there was waiting lists to get them through there, and I was down there and I was a bit drunk. So I sent an email to their info going, hello, it's Matt here. Can I do something and all of that? And I didn't hear anything back because I woke up in the morning and go, why did I do
Why
that?
did I
Why did I send that? Sound like a right saddo because they're trying to get in. I was brewing with Mark Tranter at the time who went, I'm not asking for you.
Was this
Sort of
Dark
thing at
Standards or
no, Burning Sky. And then lo and behold, I got 5.5 hours or 4 hours back up the motorway I got an email from the head brewer going, "You're welcome anytime. Do you want to come round this afternoon?" And
That little cry.
oh, the crying carried on home to the latest trips.
It's one of those things. It's sometimes hard to get our attention because we're focused on other stuff, and it takes a while for emails to filter through or whatever. But if we know that there's, especially a brewer in the area who wants to come and look around, we'll do as much as we can to try and to accommodate it, because it's just a shared passion. But my one is a bit of an unusual, well, not unusual, but because it's kind of an obvious path to where craft beer went to at the time. But it'd be really cool to go to either Anchor Brewery or Brooklyn. So I know Brooklyn's not like not seen as either, but it'd be really cool to go to see it. So.
Michelle?
Oh God, I just big shiny tanks don't really sort of. To be fair, I mean, it's like that thing.
From what you've told us today, saison sours are your
Exactly.
favourite thing.
Send me to a cool ship one. It's anywhere in Belgium. You know,
Saison de
it's sort of
France,
like
yeah.
I mean, to be fair, one of my favourite beers is a Caracol Belgian wit beer, and I first discovered it in Bruges, and it's got a tiny little snail on the label, and it's just one of my absolute favourites. So yeah, send me there, I'll be happy.
I don't even know where it is.
No, it's just a tiny little Belgian brewery that I'd be happy to go around and have a look and see what they do.
Bruges is an amazing.
Oh, stunning! And just like the beers and each glass you get with a different beer. Oh, it's just amazing.
Let's not go
Let's not go down that.
Yeah, we
scary
can do a
route.
whole thing on that. But, let's just say, if you ever have the opportunity and you do truly love your beer, get to Bruges.
Yeah, for sure.
But have you guys been to St Mars the Desert in Sheffield?
No, I haven't.
No, we haven't yet up there.
Have you met Martha and Dan before?
I spoke to them
so
a few
cool
times.
people. But their brewery is in a random little area called Attercliff in Sheffield. I went to uni in Sheffield, so I know it quite well. It's not somewhere I venture very often. But their brewery tap room is amazing. If you ever get a chance to go and see it, it's very small, but it's just so cool when you go in there. It's just kind of really comforting, really nice place. They do great beers, and especially if you like Belgian style beers in particular.
No, I've read a lot of what he used to write when he was in the US, and one thing resonates from what he wrote, or what he said to me one day when I spoke to him, and I said to him, I was like, "Wow, you're doing great, I can see," and he went, "Yeah, it's easy being you." And I was like, that's not something to lean on, and which I take on a month to week, it's going buoyant, but there is
always that air of caution you got to take.
Yeah, and he just said it that once. It was Salt's Oktoberfest or whatever, and I was like, and it's the first time someone, and that who's flying a bit like that, just comes straight out.
Yeah, the new kids know what we've got it.
Yeah.
One of the cool things if you do go up there is in the new toilets. They used to have one little toilet, and they've now got another one, which is a really big toilet. Randomly, I'm talking about toilets. But if you go in there, he's got a framed rejection. He's got a framed. Well, I've been to ours a lot tonight, so I think I've got a lot to talk about. But he's got a framed rejection letter from every brewery in the UK who said no to him when he wanted to come back to the UK about 10 years ago, and it's brilliant. All these really big brewers who basically said, "Sorry, but thanks, but no thanks." Timmy Taylor's were on there. There was loads of them, but there were big regional breweries who just said that, not for us, thanks. And for him to be able to come back to the UK, start a brewery and do pretty well from it, and then just say, well, there you go, guys, I don't need to work for you guys.
More than pretty well, I would say.
Yeah.
But the next one I've got is, to us, when are you planning to release the first Nitro Stout? I don't remember the exact date. Nadia, was it February? January?
Oh, so you've got a Nitro Stout in there.
Yes.
It's brewed soon, and we're going to do the nitrogenation in tank, which means elevating it to a higher pressure using silly pressures. Don't tell the insurance man type pressures.
Have you asked the kit provider yet?
We've done it in a particular vessel before.
We'll do it again.
Okay.
And you've got to go to these elevated pressures because it takes a lot more to get the nitrogen to dissolve. But once you've got it to do that, we can then use our new canning line to then push that into the cans and seal it before that nitrogen tries to escape again. Yeah.
Great.
Like every other joyful thing in nitrogen coming out of solution and
Oh, wow.
non-counter pressure.
I had a quick sip of the coffee porter when Joe kindly brought us a sample. Oh, we're going to have the Imperial afterwards, don't worry. Joe brought the wrong one. And because we were in the midst of everything else and it was really cold, I got a bit of coffee, and now that it's warmed up, I'm really getting the coffee. It's really cool.
And if anybody
so
else wants to be
so
part of
talk to you
our, anyone else wants to be part of our future audience, you just email info@brewyork.co.uk.
But uk.co.
Info@brewyork.co.uk. And if you mention that you'll send some drinks to the front table, you will have a significantly better chance
Like
of
accelerate.
getting in. So, yeah.
Getting it now.
I have to pay because I'm an internet.
So we've got a little comment that a beer that I might like but Lee wouldn't would Honey I Shrunk the Budget.
Yeah, right, I would not like that one.
Dark mile.
I like a dark man.
So do I. That could work quite nicely in the budget.
Is your cask beer dry hopped
Yes.
to like 15 grams per litre?
No.
Oh, did you jump out?
So for everyone at home, we're about to move on to the piece de resistance.
Actually, Nadia, there was a section on the previous thing we hadn't finished.
Sorry, I can't read it.
I can, if it's there.
This is Matt.
No, the previous one.
I can't read that bottom one over.
Right, there's a whole section we've not done.
Why did the font get lower as we
No, Lee did this. It's his fault.
No, I didn't do it like that. It's just not printed right.
I think it's the software, whatever you use.
So usually at this point in time, we talk about what's
wow,
coming
bloody
up
hell.
in the next box.
I missed my whole section.
Yeah, so Wayne's going to do that. It's good job I'm paying attention. It's because you're in the bloody
I was in the
too often.
toilet, sorry. So the next box for everyone joining us at home who's a subscriber, you probably want to know what you're going to get next month. You're probably especially interested as there was a beer that we brought out last week that isn't in your box. So Imperial S'mores Toncoco, 7.5% marshmallow Toncoco beer is going to be in your box next month. We were trying to get the balance right this month. We have quite a lot of dark beers in the box already. We didn't want to put a fourth dark beer in there, so we made sure that Twisted Transistor was in the box this month, and then you're going to have your dark beer next month. So yeah, Imperial S'mores Toncoco is going to be in there. We've got Champagne Supernova.
Well,
Champagne Supernova.
you've got to mention that, like, first of all, next month is dry January. And we're very much taking an approach of you can take your dry January and shove it up your... Because we're going to do 5 beers next month instead of 4. So we're not dialing it down, we're dialing it up.
So Nadia needs a new phone because there's no way our battery will last 3 hours for 5 beers.
Or,
Buy me a new phone.
Yeah.
Christmas, you might need to ask for one for Christmas.
or we just drink them quicker and make it even more interesting.
So yeah, it's going to be a really cool tasting. But yeah, we've got 5 cool beers. We want to taste them all and we want to get the balance. So we're going to do a 5 beer tasting. It's going to be 14th of January. So we'll give you a little bit of... You're going to have 7 days of dry January and then build up to the next one. So Champagne Supernova is the next beer we're going to be tasting, which is one of our new brewers, Josh. He's in the room. Well, he was in the room earlier. He's
I think
disappeared.
he's gone for a smoke.
So you guys can quiz him later on if you're in the audience. So that's going to be his recipe, pale ale. We've got Tom, our head brewer, who's also was in the room. He's out as well. You can talk to him in a minute. And Born Under Peaches is his beer, which is a peach iced tea sour. So that's going to be pretty cool. So that's going to be one of the tasting ones. We've also got the 2 beers that we brewed today. So we've got the Lakes collabs. We've got Rodney U Tonka and Origami Black Belt. So we had to do them both. So there you go. 5 different beers to taste next month.
And potentially with another guest, still waiting on that one, TBC. And locationally, we keep talking about moving these things around, but Boris keeps screwing those plans up. So we've managed to do a minor beer crawl by moving this one from downstairs to upstairs.
So what about counties?
Yeah. So next time we're probably back downstairs. I don't know.
They come to lakes, but We don't have Wi-Fi yet.
Right, we've been invited to the lakes, but apparently we need to bring some dial-up Wi-Fi.
We did that. We did that though. So we
Yeah.
during as soon as the COVID restrictions eased and they hadn't officially released properly, we went to a little event called the Bigfoot Festival, and Joe and Michael in the back were there with us, and there wasn't internet there, so it was the signal was terrible. So we had to try and do a live stream with a little Wi-Fi booster box under a tree where we were getting covered in rain. It was
Third
fun.
world problems, eh?
It was fun though. It was fun. You find a challenge, you make it work. And we sat on straw bales. The audience loved it because they'd found a way to be dry, and they were drinking beer and happy.
And we drank 4 beers in 1 hour.
1 hour because we didn't want to stay in the rain. So 5 beers in 2 hours next month is going to be fine.
I think it may have been more.
Well, yeah. God, yeah. Let's
maybe
not
like
talk.
what-
Let's talk about the rest of that.
Well, more beers or more time.
So now we're on to the next beer, and I haven't even been able to.
Well,
Do you
yeah,
want another dab?
Yes, please.
I'll have one soon.
Might as well be quadruple parked.
Wow.
Bit of coffee in this. Bourbon barrel. What type of bourbon barrel was it?
It was
I can't read it.
Buffalo Trace. No. Buffalo Trace and Wild Turkey, I believe. But then
Nice.
blended.
That's why. Isn't it?
There's quite a lot of barrel in there.
So for everyone joining us at home, you probably realised by now we're on to. Yeah, you can keep that. I just want your fancy glass for you.
Right? Don't mess
For
around
everyone
with
joining us
my
back home, we're now on to barrel aged espresso Patronum. If you haven't realised, I almost took Lee Sauer away. He wasn't happy.
Going to fight you.
So,
Origami black belt.
I told you I like my side.
for those of you who can remember, Espresso Patronum was a collab we originally brewed with Amundsen. From Norway. No, I just can't get my words out. So with Amundsen from Norway, it was a definitely not a Harry Potter themed beer, and it was.
We need to stop walking these lines, really, don't we?
It's fun.
It's fun.
Skirting them.
It's fun. Said the person who doesn't work in the legal department.
So it was a espresso based Imperial milk stout, and it was a pretty cool beer. It was one of those beers where you guys at home always tell us when you're going to bring it back, and we were like, well, we've got so many really cool Imperial stouts we want to brew. We don't want to keep rebrewing previous ones. We do want to bring them back every now and then, but we always try and barrel age some of them. So we knew that this was in the pipeline. So it is pretty simple compared to some of the other beers we brew in terms of the stronger, darker beers. There was a massively complex malt though. So most of the flavour in this type of beer comes from the malt. So lots of different complicated malts. And then, what coffee did we use? Nescafe, yeah.
Gold blend.
We had a Costa Rican Arabica.
Our sales team eat coffee, so they basically ate all the coffee, and we had to use Nescafe for the.
Coffee mate for sweetness.
I forget why, because we made this original beer, 18 months ago or whatever it was, and we decided on Costa Rican coffee the first one, but I cannot remember why.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Costa Rican coffee and the vanilla?
Oh, there was a vanilla.
No, there's Costa Rican coffee, there's vanilla, there's chilaca, which is basically liquefied cacao. There was then, and then when it came back out of barrel, we did a second coffee infusion and a second cacao infusion because we felt that the flavours had just got a little bit too subdued.
So this is one of the things that we, with our barrel aging, we decided this is I guess a cheat in some ways, in that once if you've infused or spent time and money and effort infusing a flavour and you put it in a barrel for 18 months and it loses some of that flavour, we kind of feel that if you can get it right, let's re-infuse it.
I don't think it's a cheat. I think it's a way of making an even more rounded beer, or an even more complex beer. So it's the very first time we ever did Empress, which is the kind of top end of our tonka series. It came back out of barrel way stronger than it should have been. So we dialed the strength back down with fresh Empress tonka.
And in doing so, we got a
And we
super
got this,
fresh
like,
coconut infusion.
Super fresh coconut into the heavily bourbon-laden beer. And we're like, wow. So ever since then, that's our approach. Whatever the big adjunct or the big kind of flavourings are, they don't go into the beer that goes into the barrel. We age the base beer and then we do the flavouring additions post-barrel now. But with this one, that preceded that. So this had those additions pre-barrel, and now it's also had an extra bit of post-barrel additions.
Well, what's quite interesting is really what you get through that, because from opening and sitting, there is so much barrel character fighting through those multiple layers, and literally you get little peaks of it. It's sort of like, wow, it's there. You got more vanilla, you got a little bit of spirited character, you know, all of that. Then it's sort of back down to that lower coffee, and the layers are amazing, and I think that's sort of, when you're talking like that, it's sort of almost like that suppressing on the top. You've sort of got the layers from the original fresh on the top, and then barrel coming through, and because there is bad things about straight barrel character that people don't like. You know, the tans, the wood, the shrimp, you know, X and X. So
and that's why a lot of people blend the barrels. They take, they basically try and get the best.
Of exactly.
Yeah, and in a Belgian world, you do some young with some old to kind of soften that character.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's
so much better when it's warm as well. So. This is still, we're still drinking it a little bit cold, but if you've got it in a plastic glass, you've got much chance. But
Warm living room.
Yeah, if you're in a warm living room, whatever. Yeah, or you just put it under your armpit. If you remember the armpit warming, as soon as it warms, it warms up, you're getting all sorts of extra flavours.
I didn't say where the glass should be.
And I'm not asking.
Did someone say it's a toilet break?
You're not.
Really? This is the real meat steak today.
Honestly, you're going to love it. We've had 4 drinks
Right. Okay, while he's out of the room, shall we pass them over? Let's have some suggestions. What are we doing?
Okay, so...
Quick, he's not going to be out of the room long.
Right, okay.
Go on.
I mean, I've written them in my notes, but...
Right. Our options are 3 laps of the tap room and beer hall. Come on, guys, you can do better than that. Unlimited fruit budget for Lee on a beer. Yes! Right.
That wasn't just one person, that was about...
We have a winner, baby! There we go. Yeah. The phrase is motion carried. we are doing that.
I'm part of this.
Oh no, you were just a mere witness to this. So, any more thoughts on this beer while we wait on Wayne to come in?
I think already whacked.
I think you have waxed lyrical, yes.
Like, there's almost like an element of, in the aftertaste of White Russian.
Oh,
It's
Spirits.
Yes.
It's been suggested in the room that it has a character of a White Russian or a cocktail. I get that, actually. There's a cocktail that I'm picking up in this. What is it?
Just nice.
It's just nice. That praise we can live with.
next time, straight in there, I'll have a just nice.
Very cocktail, which is the Grand Marnier, the
Right.
Baileys.
and
Yeah.
the Blue Ways.
Yeah.
You've got that creaminess in there.
Definitely that.
Definitely, yeah.
No, we've just had it suggested, the Beer 52, which was the Grand Marnier.
B52, not Beer 52. Beer 52 is a subscription club.
B52,
Yeah.
Kahlua,
Yeah.
Grand Marnier,
Baileys.
and
Baileys.
Baileys.
It's just nice.
I think you're right. I think what this is reminding me is of the creamy liqueur with the high boozy content.
It is.
I think that was what we need to put on the back of it. We've got a quote from the audience there. It's just nice. Done. So, what have I missed?
Oh, if only you knew.
Lee's going to have some fun next week.
We'll announce at the end. But yeah, you'll love it, mate. I guarantee.
I've only been gone like
I'm surprised you're
4
not
times.
watching it while you're having a wee.
I am. I just tested him out. I'm not actually going for a wee. I'm just like going to that room up there and watching. Yeah. So
have we got more questions?
Can I just point out the label on this is like, if you just as well, for us in marketing, we're very much the texture and you know, if you just sort of, it's very tactile and sort of. I've been sat here appreciating this label. It's very good. The small elements, just please look at the labels when you do, because there's a lot of work that does go into them, and it really sort of does. Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant.
It's been a labour of love and
very
hate, that
definitely
one, hasn't it?
It is fantastic.
It took us a long time to get to where we are with that one.
Yeah. So Nadia's actual. Silence in the room, please. Sorry for everyone at home. We've got a naughty audience tonight.
We will punish them with more beer.
Nadia, who looks after all these streams for us, who you guys at home are ping your messages in for, her job application process was a pitch for how we launched the State of Mind series. So if you remember back to your time off on that, and that was the first time we did something like this. So Nadia kind of joined us after we'd already kind of launched one of them, and the State of Mind series has evolved. We had a great idea for a premium range, and it was about the Brew York State of Mind, like Billy Joel, pun, with the rest of it. So it was. We thought it was really cool. It's something we'd always wanted to do at some point, and I think we're there now. I think this is what we had in mind when we first had the concept, and it's really weird for us because we always thought that it would be either a fully printed can or something that feels really premium. And in our mind, when we started the series, we were like, okay, a shrunk sleeved can looks better than a stickered can, and this proves us completely wrong because the stickered can looks so much better and feels so much better than the one we started with.
We went with the shrink sleeve, which means you're committing to uniform texture across the whole of the can, and it just needs to have this. Yeah,
It's tactile.
Touchability.
Yeah, it is. But the thing is as well, it's like you wouldn't particularly drink this out of a can. It's like, you know, you're always going to potentially decant it. But so you sort of, but it is the tactileness of them and just the textures between the two, and for sure. Yeah, and it makes you look at it and appreciate. Yeah, I mean beer and art go hand in hand so much now.
It was massively lost on the first version we did. It was good, and then we were like, and then we got better at it for the second and third, and then this and the previous version, the first thing we did in the sticker, and I was so happy.
Yeah.
We were umming and ahhing for ages, and the prototype they sent us, we applied it. I was like, I don't care if the rest of it's right. That just feels so much better now. And it was pretty cool. So we've geeked on about this.
I think we know our labels.
We love the can, and we also love the beer.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on from that point. So we've got one final question before we then get into starting to conclude tonight's session. So what is a flavour you tried to make into a beer, but you couldn't make it work? I'm going to start with you, Mark.
Tonka?
Something that you thought would work.
We all hate Tonka now. So.
Yes.
You really wanted to get to work and couldn't get it there, or you just dismissed it outright as that's just not going to work?
I don't know. I'd have to go back to my biggest disaster being a sour fruited IPA. Really.
Kiwi fruit.
Yeah, that's a good reminder coming from all
kiwi to kiwi.
There was nothing. It was. I felt the pressures of being from New Zealand, and I think I felt peer pressured in putting kiwi fruit into a sour IPA, which
sounds really good. It's a kiwi sour
does.
IPA.
You know what? I had some mango. I had a few other elements in with it. Some would say it was absolute fucking train wreck coming together. I say it was going to be a match made in heaven.
It was an odd. It should have worked. And
it should have worked.
It
all clashed. It was.
It turned and it changed through the brew as well.
I couldn't age that. It was. excruciatingly odd. Oh,
What's it me? That's me.
We all got the like Siri notice. We were like laying on it.
it was really, really badly fruited. It was astringent and all that. And it wasn't till later on, having breakfast somewhere, that I was sat down and there was kiwi fruit on offer. And it wasn't great kiwi fruit. It was a shit B&B or something. So I had the kiwi fruit and it wasn't great. And that was the bloody flavour. I brought some really crap kiwi fruit puree and I realised the ageing out the back of it. My God, this intensity of overly sour sort of astringency that this
Which is not what I would associate kiwi with.
No, but this overripe nature, which
Almost
I spent-
earthy as well.
I
It was
spent-
weird.
I spent months in my own head trying to pick this recipe to bits to why the astringency was at X and X, and it
And it
wasn't.
was a supplier issue, really.
And it wasn't until I had an overripe kiwi fruit that I went,
That's it.
"You bastard!" And that was it. That was sort of.
Kiwi's never an ingredient I particularly wanted
No.
to work with. Nothing personal. I think it's just in my childhood or my adolescent years, you would drink this thing called Mad Dog 2020, and it was strawberry and kiwi. And you drank it when you were about age 15, and you made yourself ill with it, and then you never wanted kiwi and alcohol ever again.
It didn't last long.
No.
The alcohol, but the kiwi, maybe he's back on it now. For me, the flavour or the fruit in particular is passion fruit. So I love passion fruit and beer, but I hate the smell of arse in a pint. And passion fruit always has this for us has always had this issue where we brew a really cool beer, it's great in tank, and then eventually you drink it, and you go, oh my God, it really smells of arse. I don't know why, but
It's a weird thing because you're like, passion fruit is the sour fruit. So you're like, this is going to be a beautiful bedfellow with a sour beer. And then you put passion fruit into sour beer, and then it ends up like tasting like arse. It's like, how has that happened?
not that I've ever tasted arse, but I just want to make it clear.
I've always had.
It was a
Done
gauze, though.
yeah, passion fruit goes and whatsoever, and I've never got too much arse. But I've found it really softens. The more you apply passion fruit, you get mouthfeel again and the sort of spritzy, champagne-y type acidity and all that, but you don't necessarily get more fruit character or passion fruit. But in your case, you got arse. So you got,
We're just looking at it.
The irony was the beer was called When Passion Turns Sour.
yeah. He needs my kiwi fruit supplier.
You're ultra reliable.
Yeah.
Right, so we're almost there. I just want to wrap up by first of all asking you guys, so what are you looking forward to next? Where does Lakes Brew Co go from this point now?
Everything, really. Well, journey's so young so far.
I think like next year it's going to be, hopefully, fingers crossed, if everything is going in a right direction. We've got beer festivals to look forward to, I hope. Again, if we are,
and
guaranteed
hopefully
those.
something small ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very little, just Liam Wayne.
You can call us
That's
many
fine.
things.
You
one of
three,
them.
no. Yeah, just sort of some specials for me. Like hopefully in the spring we get some nice sours and wheat beers and saisons maybe if
So me and Michelle had a chat about this earlier. The idea is, if this goes on public record,
it has to be
you're
done.
going to brew some saisons and sours,
I've got no
then
problem
you have
with
to
that.
do it.
Yep,
Who's buying it? You and Michelle?
yep,
I'll do
it's
that.
fine.
Sours.
To buy them.
We'll,
Sounds
we'll,
good.
we'll,
me
we'll
your
buy sours.
minibus anytime.
Yeah, but
Only if Lee's driving.
That way's punishment.
Oh,
You don't
Yeah.
need driving.
Oh yeah, you need to reveal.
yeah, what's Wayne's punishment?
How much has he spent?
No, but we're going to do that at the end. No, No, we're going to do that at the end, but I want to drag out his torture. So,
One more
Wayne,
road break in between.
Wayne, what are you looking forward to in the next month or year?
Month. I'm off. I'm hoping I'm going to Edinburgh Christmas Eve for like 4 or
Have you
5
seen
days
the
for a little
ad
break.
number?
I'm guessing I'm probably not, given what's going on at the moment, but that's going to be pretty cool. Having a little bit of a break at Christmas. The obviously really looking forward to what we've not even discussed, but going to Kendal and brewing a beer with these guys
Nice.
next year.
Yep.
And then we've also got a really cool one coming up. We're doing not one, but 2 West Coast IPAs with Formridge, the OG West Coast IPA brewers. So we're doing a home and an away collab with Formridge early next year. So and we've already agreed that we're doing 2 West Coast. So we're like, yes, West Coast is king.
And tune back in next month and we'll tell you a little bit more about that. For me, what I'm looking forward to is, first of all, some time off at Christmas. Those of us that work in our industry do not get anywhere near enough time off, so it's nice to really appreciate the time we do have off. I'm really looking forward to spending some time with my wife and the rest of my family. And the other thing I'm looking forward to is we've just brewed a foreign extra stout. First I've ever brewed, and if that turns into what it tastes in tank in glass, then I'm going to be well excited. It tastes amazing in tank.
Foreign export style.
Is it just foreign export style?
Yeah.
No,
It's not
no
fiddled
adjuncts.
with.
No, not fiddled with.
No.
It's
Unadulterated
it's-
foreign export stout.
It's multiple types of roasted grain and molasses. That's it.
Quality control tomorrow?
I was going to say,
No silly adjuncts. No Brew
Didn't do
York
it-
daphnis.
Didn't do any.
Just trying to do that style.
We didn't do any tank tasting today, did we? That's,
no.
Yeah, sorry for that.
Serious?
Sorry for that. So, the final thing we need to talk about is, because you had so many loo visits, I asked our audience to nominate a punishment for your indiscretions.
I didn't, I swear.
And what the audience has collaboratively agreed is that I need to be given an unlimited fruit budget for a beer.
well, if you guys are willing to pay it, because I'll just pass it on to you guys.
Accountancy 101 right there.
So, anyway, that concludes yet another YouTube. Thanks once again for joining us.
And we finished at 9 o'clock.
I hope you've had as much fun as we have. As always, we would love to hear your feedback, hear your suggestions for next time. What's worked, what's not worked. Get your feedback in to info@brewyork.co.uk. Thanks again. We shall see you next time.
My feedback is those small fonts don't work. Yeah, sorry. Thanks to you guys for joining us as well. We didn't even- sorry.
Merry Christmas.
Can we have legible font next time, Lee? That's just ridiculous.
Genuinely, as if